Aisha Coleman had been married to Marcus for 6 years when the contraction started. It was a chilly February morning in Atlanta, and she had just made it through her 39th week of pregnancy. Marcus drove her to the hospital, not speaking much, his eyes glued to his phone. Aisha didn't mind. She was focused on the pain, on breathing, on staying strong for the little boy they had waited so long to meet. But what she didn't know was that Marcus hadn't come to see a birth. He came to deliver betrayal. They reached the hospital room, and nurses quickly got her settled. Between deep breaths and mounting pressure, Aisha saw Marcus walk over with an envelope. "What's this?" she asked weakly. He didn't meet her eyes. "Papers," he said. "Divorce." At first, she thought the pain had made her hallucinate. "What?" she whispered. "I can't do this anymore. I've met someone. You'll be better off," he said and walked out. Just like that, Aisha lay frozen, heartbroken, humiliated, and in labor. The nurses rushed in, unaware of what had just happened. She clenched her fists and screamed, not just from pain, but from being torn apart in every way. She gave birth to a baby boy, Isaiah, alone. No father's hand to hold, no celebratory photos, just her bloodshot eyes and the soft cries of a newborn. When a nurse handed Isaiah to her, Aisha broke. "It's just us now," she whispered into his tiny ear. "But I promise you'll never feel alone." The next few days were a blur of recovery and paperwork. Marcus didn't come back. He didn't sign the birth certificate. And when Aisha returned home, her world had changed, silently and completely. Life after the hospital wasn't easy. Bills piled up. Aisha had been a part-time substitute teacher and now had to rely on government support. Nights were sleepless. Isaiah had colic and cried endlessly. Some days, Aisha felt like collapsing. But every time she looked at Isaiah's brown eyes, so much like hers, yet full of promise, she stood back up. She began working remote tutoring jobs at night when he slept. She'd read books on child development during the day and sang lullabies when her voice felt hoarse from exhaustion. Still, she poured love into every moment. When Isaiah turned 3, Aisha enrolled in nursing school. She had always loved science, and the flexible evening program at a local college allowed her to attend while her mother babysat. She aced every exam, every lab, even when Isaiah caught the flu and she missed a midterm. Her professors took notice. "You don't give up, do you?" one asked. "Not an option," she said. And she meant it. Failure wasn't a luxury she could afford. Not when Isaiah counted on her for everything. By the time Isaiah was 6, Aisha had graduated and secured a job at a hospital in downtown Atlanta. She worked the night shift and homeschooled Isaiah during the day. He was sharp, curious, and full of questions. "Mom, why don't I have a dad?" he asked one afternoon. Aisha paused. "Your dad made a choice, but so did I. I chose to love you with everything I had." Isaiah nodded, then hugged her tight. "Then you're enough." And in that moment, she knew he would grow up stronger than his father had ever been. Isaiah excelled in school. He read at a 9th grade level by 5th grade. He loved science, just like Aisha, and once said he wanted to become a doctor so moms don't have to cry alone in hospitals. Aisha's heart swelled with pride. He had no idea how much those words meant. She printed that quote and kept it taped inside her locker at work. It became her daily reminder of how far they had come and how much further they could go. One day, when Isaiah was 12, Aisha ran into Marcus at a gas station. He looked older, worn, and surprised to see her. "You look good," he said. Aisha just nodded. "This your car?" he asked, eyeing her Honda. "Yes. Paid off," she replied. "You doing okay?" he asked. "More than okay," she answered. Isaiah came out of the convenience store and saw him. "Who's that, Mom?" Aisha glanced at Marcus. "Just someone from the past." Marcus didn't say a word. He watched his son walk away, tall, confident, unfamiliar. High school came quickly, and Isaiah began winning science fairs across the state. He got into dual enrollment classes at Georgia Tech. Aisha rarely missed an event. She cheered louder than anyone at every awards ceremony, every speech. "She's more than a mom," Isaiah once told his mentor. "She's my reason." Aisha, hearing that later through a teacher, cried in her car. quiet tears of joy and validation. On the eve of Isaiah's high school graduation, a video he made for his senior capstone project went viral. In it, he shared his story, raised by a single mom, abandoned at birth, and inspired to become a doctor. The video ended with him looking into the camera and saying, "Success isn't about who's in your corner at the start. It's about who never left." Within 48 hours, it had over 1 million views. The video caught fire. People from all over the country messaged Isaiah and Aisha, praising their strength. News outlets reached out for interviews. One morning, Aisha woke up to a voicemail from Good Morning America. "We'd love to have you and your son on the show," the producer said. Aisha sat in silence, hand over her mouth, barely breathing. She had spent years unnoticed, unseen, holding her world together with faith and tears. And now, the world was watching. Their segment aired the following week. Dressed in a soft blue dress, Aisha sat beside Isaiah in the New York studio. The host, beaming, said, "Aisha, your son credits you for everything he's become. What kept you going?" Aisha looked into the camera and said, "Knowing I was his first and only line of defense. I couldn't afford to quit." The audience applauded. Isaiah reached for her hand, then looked into the camera and added, "She didn't just raise me, she rebuilt herself." The clip was shared across social media, sparking hashtags like #MamaAisha and #RaisedByQueen. Later that night, Aisha received a message from Marcus. It was simple. "I saw the interview. I'm sorry. I was a fool." She didn't respond. She stared at the message, not with anger, but peace. She had nothing left to say. Marcus had missed everything. First steps, first words, first awards, and now, the first global recognition. Regret was his weight to carry, not hers. Isaiah received full ride offers from several Ivy League schools, but chose Morehouse, just like his mom hoped. "I want to be trained by Black excellence," he said. Aisha nodded, smiling. "Just promise me you'll keep your feet on the ground. Only if you stay with your head held high," he joked. She laughed, the kind of laugh that comes from healing. In college, Isaiah flourished. He interned at hospitals in underserved areas, volunteered at free clinics, and even co-founded an initiative to support young single mothers pursuing education. He named it Aisha's Light. When his mentor asked why, Isaiah said, "Because my mom never had help. I want to change that for someone else." Aisha visited one of his clinics once and cried quietly behind her sunglasses as she saw teenage mothers being handed books and baby formula, with her name printed across each bag. One day, Isaiah received an invitation to speak at a National Youth Leadership Summit in Washington, D.C. Aisha traveled with him. As he stood on stage before thousands of students, lawmakers, and CEOs, he shared his story again, but this time with more emotion, more fire. "My father walked out on me during birth," he said. Gasps echoed through the room. But the woman who stayed, she turned brokenness into brilliance. The audience rose in applause. Aisha wiped her eyes as cameras flashed. The speech went viral. Again, this time, it landed him a spot on the cover of Time magazine's Voices of the Future issue. The photo featured Isaiah in a white coat, stethoscope around his neck, and the caption, "What a mother's love can do." When Aisha saw the issue at a grocery store, she bought 10 copies. Not out of vanity, but victory. Isaiah's senior year arrived, and with it, medical school acceptance letters. Harvard, Johns Hopkins, Stanford. He chose Emory University because it was close to home, close to her. "I want to be near you when I take this next step," he told her. Aisha teared up. "You could go anywhere, but nowhere without you," he said. Graduation day was held in the university's grand auditorium. Isaiah, now a grown man in a tailored suit, stood as valedictorian. The room was filled with family members, graduates, and professors. And then he began his speech. "I want to dedicate this moment to someone who never asked for applause, but earned every standing ovation. She was left with a newborn and divorce papers on the same day. And instead of breaking, she built." Every camera turned to Aisha. She sat in the front row, shaking, tears streaming. "That's my mother. The reason I'm here. The reason I made it. The reason I believe in miracles." The video of the speech was uploaded within hours. Again, it exploded. Mothers across America shared it, tagging Aisha and calling her a national treasure. Celebrities tweeted about her. Nonprofits offered her speaking engagements. Aisha, once a woman who cried into a pillow alone, now stood before packed auditoriums, reminding women that their pain wasn't the end, it was the beginning. One day, Isaiah came home with news. "They want me to join a global medical initiative for women's health," he said. "And I want you to come too." As the keynote speaker, Aisha chuckled. "Me? Speak internationally?" "Mom," he said softly, "you saved a life. Mine. And now the world needs to hear how." That night, she pulled out the old hospital bracelet from her labor, faded, bent, and placed it in a memory box beside the Time magazine and her son's speech. On stage in Geneva, Switzerland, with cameras, translators, and a full house, Aisha stood tall. "I was broken, discarded, and dismissed," she said. "But I held on, because sometimes all it takes is one person believing in you, especially if that person is you." The crowd rose to their feet. Years passed. Isaiah became one of the most sought-after doctors in America, specializing in trauma surgery and community health. He opened clinics in underserved communities across the South. Aisha ran Aisha's Light full-time, helping thousands of single mothers find strength and support. One mother said, "You gave me hope when I had none." Aisha replied, "Someone did that for me once too." Marcus tried contacting Isaiah again, asking to meet. Isaiah declined. "Forgiveness isn't the same as relationship," he told his therapist. "I wish him well, but my life is already full." And he meant it. His mother had filled every void his father left. There was no resentment, only release. On the 25th anniversary of Isaiah's birth, Aisha stood in her backyard, surrounded by friends, family, and the team from her foundation. Isaiah gave a toast. "She started with nothing, but she gave me everything. My name is Dr. Isaiah Coleman. But before any of that, I was hers." The crowd clapped. Aisha smiled, looked at the stars, and whispered, "We made it, baby." And for the first time in her life, every wound, every tear, every lonely night felt worth it.